In 2021, I worked as a delivery driver for a local sandwich shop, not a big chain, just a small family-owned spot with a loyal customer base. I'd been working deliveries for about a year by then, and I genuinely enjoyed the job. It gave me the chance to cruise around town, listen to my favorite music, and chat briefly with all sorts of people when I dropped off their food. Most nights were smooth, just me, my car, and the quiet streets. But occasionally, I'd have to deliver to rougher parts of the city. I didn't mind too much. I figured every job had its downsides. Sure, there were a few odd customers here and there, the kind who gave off weird vibes or made me feel a little uncomfortable, but nothing serious ever happened. I guess I felt pretty safe behind the wheel of my car, knowing I could just drive off if something felt wrong. But looking back, I realized that kind of thinking might have made me overlook the warning signs one night that still haunts me. That night started like any other shift. It was a Friday, so we were swamped with orders, and I'd already done at least a dozen deliveries by the time I got the next ticket. The ticket itself was nothing special, just a couple of sandwiches, a side of chips, and 2 sodas. But when I looked at the address, I hesitated. It was for a street I'd never been to before, tucked deep in a part of town I usually avoided. The GPS had trouble even finding the location, but eventually it gave me a route that led through a neighborhood full of cracked sidewalks, overgrown yards, and old houses that looked like they hadn't seen a renovation in decades. As I turned onto the street, I noticed how quiet everything was. No lights, no movement, just the hum of my engine echoing down the road. I told myself it was fine, just an ordinary delivery, but as I pulled up to the house, a deep, nagging feeling of unease settled into my chest. The house was a 2-story building that looked like it had been abandoned for years. Its siding was faded and peeling, and the front porch sagged with age, the wood looking soft and rotted in places. The front yard was unkempt, weeds and tall grass choking the path that led to the door. I hesitated before getting out of the car, double-checking the address on my phone, just to be sure I was in the right place. It matched. I grabbed the bag of food and approached the front door, my footsteps sounding unnaturally loud on the cracked concrete. As I got closer, I noticed the porch light was off, and there was no light coming from inside the house. I knocked, my knuckles rapping against the wooden door. After a few moments, I heard slow footsteps approaching from the other side. The door creaked open just a crack, revealing a dark interior. A figure stood in the shadows, saying nothing, not reaching for the food, just staring. That heavy, sickening feeling hit me hard. For a moment, I thought maybe he was just shy or confused, maybe he didn't hear me knock, or maybe he was just tired. I forced a smile and said, "Here's your order. If you could just sign here, that'd be great." But the man didn't move. He stood there in the doorway, barely illuminated by the faint light from my car headlights. His face was obscured by shadows, but I could make out the outline of a thin, tall frame. The smell that wafted from inside the house was overpowering, something rancid and sour, like rotting garbage left out too long in the sun, but mixed with something else I couldn't place. I tried to keep my composure, holding out the order slip and pen, but he didn't even look at them. Instead, he continued to stare at me, his eyes locked on mine. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable, until I finally just placed the bag on the porch, mumbled that the slip was inside, and backed away. I returned to my car feeling tense, my nerves buzzing like a low electrical current under my skin. I told myself it was just a weird encounter, nothing to panic about, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I drove back to the restaurant, trying to forget about it, but as soon as I walked through the door, my manager called me over. "Another order just came in," he said, and my stomach dropped. I checked the ticket. Same house, same order. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. "It's probably just a mix-up," my manager said with a dismissive wave. "Maybe he forgot he ordered the first time. Happens more than you think." I tried to protest, but he just handed me the bag and said, "You'll be fine. Just get it done." Against my better judgment, I took the order, got in my car, and headed back to the same house, my mind racing with every possible explanation, but none of them made me feel any better. When I arrived at the house for the second time, the sense of wrongness hit me even harder. The house was just as dark and silent as before, except this time, I noticed the front door was already slightly ajar, as if someone had been waiting for me. I hesitated at the edge of the driveway, feeling a deep urge to turn around and leave, but the thought of my manager's dismissive attitude and the idea of getting in trouble kept me moving forward. I approached the door, calling out softly, "Hello? Delivery for you." No response. My pulse was pounding in my ears. I gently pushed the door open a little wider and set the bag of food on the floor inside. Still no sound, no movement. My breath was shaky as I turned to leave, but as I did, I caught a glimpse of something in the shadows beyond the door. A pair of eyes, faintly glowing, locked onto mine. My skin prickled with goosebumps and I fled to my car without looking back. Back at the restaurant, I told my manager about how strange the second delivery had been. His expression shifted from casual to concerned, though he still urged me to take the third order. "It's just a weird customer," he said, but I wasn't so sure anymore. When the third order came through, same house, same food, I felt my stomach twist. I grabbed the food reluctantly, my hands trembling a little as I got into my car. Driving back, the streetlights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the cracked pavement. The silence in the neighborhood was deafening. I parked in front of the house, and the door opened almost immediately. The man was there again, standing still in the dark. No lights, no words. The rotten smell hit me instantly, stronger than before. I forced myself to hand over the food, but this time, I didn't bother waiting around. I slammed the door, jumped in the car, and drove away faster than I had before. That night, after finishing my deliveries, my mind was a whirlwind of worry and confusion. I couldn't stop replaying the strange man's silent stare, the overpowering smell, and the eerie darkness surrounding that old house. Every time my phone buzzed with a new order notification, my heart would jump, fearing it might be him again. Then, just as I was about to clock out and head home, my manager called me with a serious tone I hadn't heard before. "Listen," he said quietly, "I'm blocking that guy from ordering anymore. Don't go back there if another order comes through. Something about him feels wrong, and I don't want you to get hurt." I felt a mix of relief and dread. Even with his warning, I was still uneasy. When I looked out the restaurant window, I spotted a shadowy figure lurking near the streetlight outside. My pulse quickened, and I locked the door tight, wishing I could vanish from that place. Even after my manager blocked the man from placing more orders, my phone continued to ring late into the night, showing unknown numbers that sent chills down my spine. Every time I glanced at the screen, my heart raced with dread, as if the silent watcher from the old house was still there, lurking just out of sight. Finally, around midnight, I decided to call the police to report the whole unsettling situation, the repeated orders from that rundown house, the strange silent man who never spoke or turned on lights, and the shadowy figure I'd seen standing outside the restaurant. The dispatcher promised to send someone out to investigate. As I waited anxiously, I kept looking over my shoulder, feeling the weight of unseen eyes on me. When the officer arrived, we drove slowly through the neighborhood, but the house was dark, abandoned, and eerily silent. I wanted to believe the nightmare was over, but deep down, a gnawing fear told me this was only the beginning. After that terrifying night, things finally seemed to calm down. The strange repeated orders stopped coming through, and the man disappeared from the delivery app completely. But the memory of those silent visits, the foul, rotting smell that clung to the air, and that shadowy figure standing motionless at the window never left me. Whenever I drove past that run-down part of the city, a cold shiver ran down my spine, and my heart would race uncontrollably. I never told many people the full story. Most assumed I was just nervous or imagining things. But I know what I saw was real, even if no one else believed me. Even now, years later, sometimes when I'm alone at night, I swear I can still hear that heavy, oppressive silence, see that dark, crumbling house, and feel those unseen eyes watching me from the shadows, waiting for something I can't understand, something I hope never finds me again.